yes, man.
What do these things want, and why are they here?
You still don't get it, do you, boy?
They have recruited the rich and the powerful.
They're running the whole show.
Wake up! They're all about you, all around you. Blinded us to the truth.
Take a look.
They are safe as long as they are not discovered.
I don't know what they are or where they came from, but we gotta stop them. Stay away from me. Put these on. They have us. Look at them. They're everywhere. Our owners.
We have no other choice.
I don't like this one bit.
Leave it alone, man. It ain't none of my business. Ain't none of yours.
We have been lulled into a trance.
Listen to what I'm saying to you. We're in trouble. The whole world's in trouble.
Control us.
They're sending some kind of signals out of TV sets.
I've got one that can see.
Mama don't like tattletale. Now we start spilling some blood. Let's go!
Push a button.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
So this is where we start before we just make jokes before the countdown and talk about little shit before the countdown.
We want people to think that we're like interesting and
that we're real people
light and real people, not like the fake podcast people that we really are. I mean, we're just algorithms.
Oh, we are real people. This is real coffee.
That's right. This is real beer here. Estrella Jalisco.
Hunter is brought to you by coffee.
Yeah.
Find it at your local supermarket.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Jordan, good God. Jordan's brought to you by Samsung, by T-Mobile.
There you go. Brought to you by beer. There you go.
Okay, so, all right, do the countdown.
Jordan can't be bothered.
All right, let's get started then. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to our podcast, The Robots Took My Podcast. I am Jordan.
And I am Anthony.
Anthony, we have a guest today. Who do we have, Anthony? You want to introduce him? My old friend?
Yeah, friend of the podcast, your old friend, recurring guest. He's been on before, and through just resounding fan outcry, he is here returning.
Yes.
Popular demand, once again, to talk about a movie he wasn't in. So we talked to Hunter previously about some of the movies that he starred in, and now we're going to talk about another movie he suggested, They Live, 1988, John Carpenter. Hunter, welcome.
Hunter Carson, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. I feel very welcome. I feel very extraordinarily welcome.
This is actor, director, producer, writer, Hunter Carson, talking about John Carpenter's 1988 movie, They Live. Now, we had something not in common here. I saw this movie when it came out in the theater at the Cineplex Odeon in Houston, Texas in 1988. Yeah, that theater is no longer there on Westheimer.
Wow, I am actually in Houston, Texas. I don't know if that's a little known fact.
Deep cuts.
So we're talking about John Carpenter, and we're talking about They Live. Opening title sequence, dun, 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 dun. It's amazing, actually.
Well, hold on. Who's John Carpenter? Let's back up. I just stole your thunder. Thunder stolen, mission accomplished.
Man, all right, I'm going to need a cup of coffee. Need some more coffee before I get started again.
Before we get started, who is John Carpenter? Do we like him? Do we not like him?
John Carpenter is like one of the greatest directors of all time, in my opinion.
I like John Carpenter.
He directed Escape from New York, the masterpiece Escape from New York.
Harry Stanton was in that.
Yeah, starring Harry Dean Stanton, Hunter's boy, and our boy Harry Dean Stanton.
Well, I don't know about starring, but he was in it.
I mean, he was like, one of the main stars. I mean, he was.
Kurt Russell was also.
When he was looking for the Duke, he went to Harry Dean Stanton. And Kurt Russell,
starring Harry Dean Stanton and appearance by Kurt Russell,
and co-starring Kurt Russell. Wait,
Lee Van Cleef, Harry Dean Stanton.
Wait, this is some big trouble from Little China.
Cameo
Good
by
times. Wow. Man.
Another movie he did, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, and he directed Kurt Russell in a TV movie where he played Elvis even way before Austin Butler played Elvis, just saying.
All right, and that's all he did. So anyway.
And that's all he did. And after that, his career was over. No.
I mean, Halloween, we talked about before, but Halloween franchise, he kicked that one out. The Thing.
Halloween, and he did him and his co-music guy, Alan Harworth, did the music on Halloween 2 even. He didn't have anything to do otherwise than be a producer and music guy on that movie. I find that interesting. Anyway.
Yeah, does his own music. Yeah, I mean, this is a John Carpenter movie is a John Carpenter movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like the studio comes in and, or there was anything that was intended that he did not approve of.
I like that he said that he always had his name above the title because he was like, I always saw that Hitchcock had his name above the title. Why not me? Why not? Who cares? I love that. I love the rebellion of John Carpenter. He's got such chutzpah as a director, filmmaker.
It's John Carpenter's John Carpenter's Vampires, right? John Carpenter's whatever it is.
John Carpenter's Oatmeal. John Carpenter's Pizzeria. Whatever.
Yeah. John Carpenter Flakes in the morning. Yeah, you got it. So, rated R movie, 1988. This movie certainly has a message. And Hunter, sorry to interrupt. How do we begin this story?
How do we begin this movie?
You've got to begin with the title sequence, which is spectacular. It zooms in and it just keeps going. And then you have, Roddy, who is Rowdy Roddy Piper, who is a professional wrestler by profession. This is his movie debut.
Wrestler, actor, Canadian.
And I didn't even recognize him in this movie when I first saw him. I did not recognize him, the same guy as in the kilt from the Goonies music video.
He's coming in hot. He comes into the big city, right? From out of town, from the desert, right? He shows up. He gets himself a job, right? Everything's going great. He meets his best friend. And that, of course, is Keith David. That's Keith David.
Yeah. The great Keith David.
And they get along really good. Oh, and I'll tell you what, one of the best decisions made is to give Keith David that speech when they're walking. He nails it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He's going on and on and on. And then everything's going real good.
Yeah.
Then
I think Keith David was really young at this point still, and he just come off like a critically acclaimed, Oscar-winning movie like Platoon in a supporting role. So Keith David was no small potato. He was really going hot here, as he still is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Formerly worked with Carpenter on...
The Thing, right?
The Thing.
I forgot about that as well. My God. And that voice of his is the sexiest voice this side of James Earl Jones.
And again, that's why he gave him that. That's why he gave him that speech, and he nails it.
You mean that the one who has the gold, controls the gold, that whole thing where he's,
It's the 1980s. Times are tough.
Yeah.
There's bread lines, soup lines.
We've got a recession going on, and this is an 80s style recession. 80s style recession. I'm saying that from this time period.
People wearing Gucci in the unemployment office. It's the 80s, everybody.
Oh, it was on point.
But yeah, this movie, it's kind of slow paced at this point, I originally thought, but really, this is keeping you in suspense at this point.
This is that suspense element. I mean, we talked about Halloween earlier, and there's that suspense element in Halloween. And I think that what he kind of does, what Carpenter kind of does, is turn this movie into like a slow burn, sort of Sam Spade kind of movie. He kind of like Roddy Piper. Right at this moment, right when they get to the migrant camp and they're chilling and everything's going great, Piper notices there's something going on across the street, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they spend a lot of time, and he'd spend a lot of time just looking at what's going on. They see the action, they see what's going on.
Yeah.
So to me, it really turns into like a caper movie. Like he's a detective all of a sudden. He's figuring things out. He knows what's up.
We see this church behind
There's
the street.
There's a church across the street.
Of this homeless camp. It's very Spanish style.
Yep.
Very California Spanish style.
Totally California Spanish style. They nail it. I agree, Jordan. They nail it.
Which I love. I love the...
It is the perfect... It's probably just a house and they put like some facade on it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
That wasn't a church, yeah.
Yeah. But they did such a good job, you know?
I agree.
But that piques his interest. Then that piques the interest of the sleuth inside of him. And he's like, man, I got to investigate. And I'm doing a pass off. What happens now? What happens?
Roddy Piper is basically, he goes to a construction job after this.
Well, he gets a job, but he goes into the church, Jordan. What does he find in the church?
He finds something in the church.
Yeah.
When he goes to the church, but he finds first chemicals on a table and shades like lenses, and then we find a box full of sunglasses, essentially, which he doesn't understand, of course. But however, if one goes back and looks at the movie again, we realize that the people in charge of the mission are all wearing sunglasses.
Yeah. Well, in the church, there's also a recording of parishioners singing, which is fake. Okay, so you have an underground resistance. We're finding out. The audience knows more than he does at this point that there's some sort of resistance going on, and he's looking into this. There's sunglasses, like Jordan said, and then there's these helicopters overhead. So you get this real sense of paranoia, and then that's like whenever the cops in the middle of the night just come in with trucks that say Scientific Investigation Department, and just the goon squad comes in with riot gear and tanks, and they just bulldoze everything. People flee the church, and then they take down the homeless camp, Jordan. And what happens when they take down the homeless camp?
God, where are we in the movie now? I'm sorry.
Well, he's seen like the TV in the homeless camp has the same recording as the TV in the church. And he saw the guy like saying the same words as the guy in the recording. So that was really interesting.
We have to point out, in the homeless camp, we see these guys watching this TV, constantly being interrupted by these signals, which we later find out are coming from the church across the street, from this same preacher guy telling you to, like, ignore everything, flee everything. It's almost like for people, like, not understanding what's going on, it just sounds like it doomsday end of the world kind of shit from somebody religious trying to get you into a cult. But it goes beyond that.
We are cattle being bred for slavery. We have to shut off the signal that's controlling us.
But there's one old man that's sitting there like cynical as hell, smoking a cigar, and he keeps saying, I don't understand why they keep interrupting. He will come into play later on. That's why I bring him up.
Yes, he will.
But Roddy Piper starts investigating the church behind across the street that these people involved with the homeless camp keep getting involved with. He finds all that stuff inside.
The cops bust up the camp, and then...
The cops bust up the camp. He's on the run. Suddenly he walks out into the street. He places on these sunglasses. Now, this is not the beginning of a Corey Hart video where he wears his sunglasses at night or in the day. No. It's not like, I wear my sunglasses. But he puts on the sunglasses, and suddenly, for the moment, he looks at the pavement. The pavement looks black and white for some reason. And then he takes them off, goes, something must be wrong with these. Are these like video sunglasses? My God, I've never seen this in 1988. But he puts the sunglasses back on, and he starts to see things.
Like he sees a billboard, and what does the billboard say, Hunter?
Obey.
Good reading.
And another one says marry and reproduce, right? And consume and inform. No ideas. Stay asleep.
And when he starts looking at magazines, and the magazines, he's looking at the old man buying a magazine, and the old man looks like this alien. He almost looks like a skeletal, like, X-ray of a human.
Over your head. That's what it looked like to me. Like it had like something on its head. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's the weirdest alien kind of design ever.
It's so weird. But it's like, it's right on though. You know what I mean? Because it's almost human. And it's almost not human, but like that thing on their head is like super weird. And their arms are all creepy. And they talk in their watches.
Skeletal almost.
Yes, totally skeletal.
It's like the classic, what you'd see in the back of a comic book in the old ancient days, X-ray glasses where you'd see people supposedly X-rayed, but this goes beyond that. It's like, no, it's like you took those glasses and it went, no, you're seeing way fucking more than that.
Yeah, well, because you couldn't see anything with those. Like, it promised women's underwear, and it did not work. You could not see anything with those things. Rip off.
Yes, big ripoff from the comic books. So yeah, he's seeing these things and he's seeing people that look like aliens, certain people only.
Who are these people? There's a certain type of person that are the aliens, Jordan. Who are they?
It seems to be like the wealthy, mainly. The ultra wealthy. The people in suits, essentially.
Get some heavy-handed messaging. Rich people are aliens.
And that's the heavy-handed message. Yeah, beyond all political.
They're living among us.
There's no lightness there.
Yeah.
They're taking our jobs. They're getting our promotions.
Doesn't matter what political affiliation you are in this movie. It doesn't matter either way. You're either wealthy or poor in this movie. And that's what this movie is about. You either being wealthy or poor. It's about class separation.
Yep.
And a quiet alien invasion that has everything to do with all this. But it goes deep because of that. I think, it does say a lot about class separation and reality, because of wealth and people poor and rich and all that.
And what is Rowdy Roddy Piper? I guess in this
Roddy Piper.
What is RRP?
Come on, Anthony. He's rowdy. He is Sir Roddy Piper in this movie. He's not rowdy.
He's a Canadian knight.
He's not in a kilt. Not the guy from the Goonies video. No.
What does he think about all this, Jordan?
He thinks it's crazy. I mean, he walks into a store at one point and he's looking at an old, rich white lady compared to an older, rich, maybe possibly, Asian lady. And the white lady looks like an alien, obviously, from another planet, but wearing fur and fluff and all that, and make too much makeup still. And he just says, "You're real fucking ugly." That's what he says. You're all right.
He does say that, but remember, they start talking on their watches too.
But yeah, and they start talking on their watches very quickly, going, "We got one that can see us." All of a sudden, because he's got these shades on, he can see through the cracks of the reality that nobody else can see. So why? It's like this is after the movie, the miniseries V, also. Yeah. So it's almost like that
it is, isn't
was
it?
the gateway for me as a kid watching They Live. I mean, yeah, because it was like you rip the skin off the lizards, who cater to the wealthy and the elite, basically, because those are the people in power, the wealthy. It's same deal. It's like, and they're ripping off the skin, and that's how you know who's a lizard. But it's almost like that. But you could tell they had to go another direction because of, in the book, it was lizards, obviously, as in the short story that Hunter sent to us before the podcast to read.
Correct.
Which was a good idea.
It was interesting.
It was interesting. Only 6 pages long. It was a quick read. It was amazing.
I apologize. I did not do my homework.
Oh, that's
what?
Okay.
I'm the worst. I'll read it later, and I will get a C. But that's
we'll paraphrase that one later. But where are we in the structure of this brilliant movie? We've realized that the aliens they're there, and they know that Rowdy Piper's there, and so Rowdy does what? What does he have to do at this point?
We're in Act 2. Now he's got to figure out what he wants to do now. So he runs afoul of the police, and then they are aliens, and he gets to show off some wrestling moves.
He takes their guns, mind you. That's important.
Like, he is a kick-ass action hero in this movie.
He really is a good action hero. I gotta say, I was thoroughly impressed with this action.
Yeah, the fights are all good and believable. You know what I mean? Yeah, and he takes people's guns, which is like in movies that people always just run on and they don't, like, they'll have one gun. I'm like, you're just leaving, the video game thoughts, I guess, that I have. But it's like, hey, pick up all these guns. Why don't you pick up some ammunition?
Yeah. Before Grand Theft Auto, before the James Bond game told us, pick up the fucking guns, as many as there are on the plot.
Why don't you upgrade your weapons?
Man.
Roddy Piper was ahead of us. I agree with you, man. Like, we needed more Roddy. Why didn't we get more Roddy Piper as an action star compared to every other fucking, buff guy?
Yeah.
At that point.
He has such a good personality. In this movie, I think he's not a Shakespearean actor, but he carries this very well.
He does.
There's a realness about him, yeah.
And even the expressions on his face, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, It's there. He's doing it.
Carpenter said, I could not find a lot on the behind the scenes of this movie, but Carpenter said he cast Roddy Piper because when you looked at him, you just saw life in him. Like he lived lives. He lived 1,000 lives. He lived many lives.
It's true. It's true. He does. That's really accurate.
Meaning you can see his suffering by looking at him in his face, kind of thing.
He's got the Tom Hanks 1,000-mile stare.
Yeah.
There's stuff going on, man. He knows what to do when you put the camera on him.
The wheels are turning behind his eyes, too, when the camera's on him. I mean, that's a thinking man's action man.
You're a professional wrestler. You need a lot of skills. You need to entertain. You need to be physical at the same time. All that stuff.
Which will come in handy later on in the fight scenes later on.
So he runs afoul of the cops, and then he grabs a bunch of guns, which is smart, especially the shotgun, and he just walks into a bank. I kind of like it. I don't think it was intentional. Like, John Carpenter movies have a very dry sense of humor. Like, he walks into this bank, and he's all armed up, and he's like, oh shit, I guess I'm in a bank now. He's like, well, so he just goes ballistic. What does he say? What's the famous line that he says, Hunter, when he walks in the bank?
I don't even remember. You got to help me out.
He says, I came here to do two things.
Oh, yes.
Was it chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Yep, that was it.
And so then he just starts just blowing people away, because it's all aliens in the bank.
It's all aliens in the bank.
Mm-hmm. Good thing my mic was off just then, because I was like wanting to quote that so badly just now.
Well, quote it so bad. I mean,
go ahead, Jordan, your version.
I have come here to do two things. Chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble gum. Mama don't like tattles.
Mama don't like tattles. It's funny. It's. I mean, this movie's working for me at this point.
It's worth a good. It was a good watch. I was very happy to have seen it.
I was actually happier. I did enjoy it way more this time, actually. I will say too.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this movie in, I don't know, I saw it as a kid or like as a teenager, I think, and I was like, I don't know where, like on TV or something, or cable, and I was like, wow, this is pretty crazy. And then I thought I saw it a few years ago, but I didn't remember anything, especially I didn't remember the last half of the movie. Let me just put it that way.
Okay.
So it was great revisiting this.
The post-fight scene half.
Yeah, exactly. Post-fight scene. So then he shoots a bunch of people in the bank, and then, of course, the cops are after him. He's got to go. And he sees a drone. There are these drones flying around, and then he shoots it, which was like wish fulfillment for me. I just love the drone destruction here in this movie. And it's interesting how it sort of predicted drones before they were a thing.
Before drones. Before nosy drones. Whatever.
So this movie kind of has this paranoia, this 1984 type paranoia at this point. You know what I mean? And so he runs away from the cops, and he's picked up by a lady, or he's not picked up by a lady.
Whoa, back up. That's being nice.
Hang on.
Okay. Meg Foster plays Holly.
There we are.
Yeah.
Yowza.
I think he's kind of mean here, honestly, where he just kind of like kidnaps her. That's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of mean in my opinion, the way he does it in this part.
It's kind of mean. He kidnaps her at gunpoint. It's more than mean.
It comes off kind of mean. Exactly.
It's felonious. It's probably gives her PTSD and scarring. She doesn't know whether she's going to be murdered or raped or what.
Exactly. But she's supposed to be on his side.
It's not mean, Jordan. It's everything but
mean. It's
mean.
beyond mean. Exactly. I'm being nice even talking about this. I think it's kind of mean, Anthony.
Those kidnappers were a little, they crossed the line, you know? I mean, yeah.
Just a little harsh is what I'm saying.
She doesn't know who this dude is, and so he has her at gunpoint, tells her to drive home. He's asking these questions. You married? You know, all this? And she's like, uh-oh. Yeah.
Don't lie to me. You're married? Come on. Are you gay, straight, whatever? Non-binary, binary? Come on. How do you identify?
Where do I find you? He's asking for a Tinder profile here.
Yeah, where's your Tinder profile? Where's your Snapchat?
And so she takes him home reluctantly because he's being so mean, Jordan.
Yeah.
And
he's being kind of harsh.
Then he's just armed to the teeth, and she's going to try to sneak away, and he says, don't freaking try it. And he tries to explain it to her, but it doesn't get through her head, because this is where his Canadian accent kind of comes out when he's a little bit excited. He's like, we're being controlled by these hosers. I don't know where they come from, hey? You know? Sorry I have to be here. Sorry I've got the guns on you.
As the poor lady is being held hostage there in her living room, as he's just laying against the couch, pulling the glasses off, going, "Oh, these glasses hurt.
Yeah.
These glasses that showed me everything, but they hurt."
Yeah.
You know, Meg Foster was at Texas Frightmare one year. Sweet lady, by the way. Just saying, would never want to kidnap her. Just saying.
That'd be, yeah, you're not that mean.
Wouldn't have any intention of that, because sweet lady, good God. I mean, I brought up like a random like Twilight Zone episode she was on, and she was nice about it. So God, I wanted to leave her alone after that, honestly.
She is kidnapping attempt foiled.
Yeah, just saying.
No, but anyway, I mean, I wish she'd done more. I really like her in this movie. She's
Meg Foster has done 123 films so far, so she has definitely done more.
A working actress for sure. She's done a lot. But
great actress,
I mean,
Meg Foster.
Bigger titles,
Those
I think.
Beautiful eyes.
Yeah, she's stunning. And a good actress because she's conveying a lot of different things here. It's very interesting. Watching it again, she's like kind of empowered in a weird way. Like, this guy's got guns on her.
She has a sincere look in her eyes when she's doing all this, though. Yeah, she's got sincerity going on there as an actor, I think. You know?
Yeah. But she's also she's afraid, but still kind of in control of the situation in a weird way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just showing a lot of strength, which later on we see sort of maybe why. But she's like guilt tripping this guy, trying to protect herself, and
yeah.
I think she kind of senses that he's not like a career kidnapper. You know what I mean? He's just some dude who's got another other agenda, and he tries to get her to wear the sunglasses. Throughout this movie, Roddy Piper is like a sunglasses salesman. Like, he works for Ray-Ban or whatever. He's like, try on these glasses. And people are like, no, I'm not going to try on your glasses. He's like, try them on, please. And they're like, no.
He's got pockets full.
Do you need a jingle? You wear these sunglasses right now so you can see visions in your eyes. Oh.
Jordan's running joke is really paying off, Jordan.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Jordan wants to turn every episode into karaoke night.
I didn't have enough notes here, so Corey Hart is my life raft.
just sing a song on his notes. It's like, I don't know what else to say. Let me just sing something.
Man. What are those, like 2x3 cards? What do you got, bro? What's going on there?
Yeah, he's on paper there.
School notebook paper. Yeah,
you got. Okay.
Right,
it's high school ruled. Like, you got college ruled. What do you got?
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's not college rule. No, I know the rules. Jeez, man. Anthony got on me about that. He said no college rule when you're writing notes.
Double spaced.
Also, Anthony and I we got in a fight like in the alley outside before the podcast, even though we don't live in the same city. But we got in a fight in the alley, and I forced him to wear the sunglasses. You know, I just said, you got to put these fucking sunglasses on, Anthony. And Anthony's like, no, motherfucker, No, nobody tells me what to do, motherfucker.
I will not wear your sunglasses.
And at that point, the editor reached for the floor.
Yeah.
Yes.
These short ends coming in handy right about now.
So, anyway, to go back to They Live, 1988, already in progress. So he goes up to her, like, she gets a drink.
Oh, yeah. Did we get to the fight, by the way? No, we didn't.
Almost to the fight. First, he gets some drinks smashed over his head and thrown out of a plate glass window in the Hollywood Hills. Two stories tumbling down to the street. Let's talk about it.
I mean, she offered him a glass of water, and that was her way. That was clever on her part.
Oh, yeah, no, she's got his number the whole time. She knows that she's in charge of this situation right here.
But this is like, at this point in the movie, this is almost like a weird bad dream.
Yeah.
Where you're Roddy Piper, you're making bad decisions all over the place in the bad dream.
It's like a David Lynch movie. It's like Mulholland Drive or something.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is surreal, though. I just have to get that out of the way. This movie is very surreal. But yeah, he falls all over, down the Hollywood Hills, wherever she lives. He tumbles and falls, and
I would have loved to tumbled right past the house with Dean Stockwell and what's her name in Paris, Texas. It looks like almost the same place. Like, whoa!
Yeah.
Who was that? Anyway, call back.
And all the way through Laurel Canyon with Who's Living in Laurel Canyon in the 80s, you know.
Man. Oh,
He
yeah.
tumbles about 500 feet. It's pretty crazy. And limps. But he does at least remember to limp. So that's
because they live, we have a title.
He lived.
He lives, they live, we have a title.
So anyway, he goes back to find Frank.
Played by Keith David, yes.
Keith David.
Good old Keith David. I'm trying to do my Keith David voice.
Was in Gargoyles, was the voice of Goliath. Remember that old cartoon?
I do remember that old cartoon.
Oh my
that
God,
was
he on that too?
He was in everything. He's like
good
Yeah,
cartoon. I remember that one, dude. Nice.
He's
That
got
was
Meg
solid.
Foster type credits. He's got it stacked. He's a working actor. Anyway,
Keith David, 300 titles.
Also been a Texas Frightmare Weekend. Keith David.
Oh yeah,
I believe
God
it.
damn it.
I believe it.
I missed him, damn it.
And so he's like, I don't want any part of you. And that Keith David represents, not Keith David himself, Frank, his character represents us, people.
The audience.
Because he's like, I don't want to get involved. This isn't my fault. I have a wife and kids. I have this family.
You're crazy. What the fuck? He says, I have a wife and kid back in Michigan I haven't seen in like a year because I came here trying looking for work. You know, it's barely working out.
Yeah, so he's a good guy just trying to work. And he doesn't need all this business. And then Roddy Piper shot a bunch of people in a bank. And so he's like, you've been all over the news. No, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And then he has a change of heart, strangely, and finds him in an alley and tries to give him some money. And then he's like, Roddy Piper's like, try on these sunglasses.
Yeah.
And Frank says no. And then what happens?
Frank says, this ain't a fucking Ray-Ban commercial. I'm not trying on your fucking sunglasses. This ain't a fucking Wayfarer sunglasses commercial either, motherfucker. No, I wish that was
those Foster grants up your ass. I don't want any of that.
I'm surprised none of these puns came
starts.
out. And the fight starts, and it's like this old movie Western fight that goes on for fucking ever. And even as a little kid, I thought that there was no editor at this point in the movie. Watching this movie at 12 years old, I thought they had no editor. Did John Carpenter just edit this movie himself? Probably, I guess.
John Carpenter does it all on his movies. That's why it's like a John Carpenter joint.
He's an auteur.
He does, though. That's true. It is a John Carpenter joint, to paraphrase Spike Lee.
Absolutely.
He's
a John
like,
Carpenter joint.
at some point, I think he realized he can get paid, because John Carpenter literally must be in like 10 different unions. I'm not like he writes the music, right? He probably does the editing. He's probably the sound guy. He probably rolls up with a bunch of sandwiches like, here you go, everybody, here's your lunch. He's like doing it all, gaffing, taping. He's doing it all. He
showed up with the cucumber sandwiches that one day, man. They were great. They were the best sandwiches ever.
Yeah, he's sitting there at a grill making everyone hot dogs, and it's like, hey, he does it all. This is a John Carpenter movie.
But then he's like, hey, it's time to shoot now. I fed you all.
I have the feeling, I haven't heard much about working for John Carpenter, but I bet he doesn't mess around. If John Carpenter's telling you it's time to shoot, I have a feeling everyone's going to be in the place.
It's pretty much, you should go.
Yeah.
It's time to go.
Yeah. So I think this is, for me personally, not technically, but probably one of the best fights in all of movie history. Or at least, no, one of the most memorable fights in all of movie history.
Definitely one of the most memorable fights. It's
definitely memorable. Good stunts.
It's brutal. Like, you think it's like Fight Club over here. You think it's over 5 times.
But does it go on too long? I'm going to say it. It goes on a bit too long. I'm going to say it. I'm sorry.
Does not go on too long.
You don't think?
It is what this is. It is what we wanted. We wanted Roddy Piper to fight. That was the whole thing. I walked in. I didn't walk into the theater. I sat down on my couch waiting for that fight. I'm a WWF fan. I remember I was in whatever,
I didn't know this
wherever. Oh yeah, no, I was in whatever stadium in LA where they introduced Bam Bam Bigelow for the first time, and he ran down the thing. Yeah.
Wow.
I was a huge fan. I loved WWF. I would get up in the morning and watch it when I was a kid. I would stay up late and watch it at night when I was a kid. It's great.
And this is the peak of WWF, the mid to late 80s. The huge, and Roddy Piper was huge already. He was
a big star at that point.
Didn't need to be in a movie.
Because when my dad and my mom were talking about it after the movie. It didn't even register. This shows how good an actor he was. I knew who Roddy Piper was as a little kid, but when I went to see the movie, I did not register because he wasn't credited the same way. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, what? And my dad was like, does Roddy Piper have a Scottish accent? He was asking my mom. My mom, of course, was like, what? What are you talking about? And I'm like thinking, wait. And I'm putting it together later on like, oh my God, these are the wrestlers. That's the same guy. This shows what a good actor he was, though.
Well, Frank, I mean, I want to go deep here for a sec. The metaphor, the reason this fight is happening for so long, I think Carpenter, just wanted to dwell out a fight. And I think he's kind of trolling the audience, too, with how long this fight is.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He said he based it on an old Western fight. Yeah. And I can't remember what it was. It might have been Red River or something like that. There was a big, long fight in one of these old Westerns he loved. And he was copying that, essentially.
Yeah, and Roddy Piper and Keith David, they practiced this fight, I think, for like 2 weeks or something like this.
Really?
This was,
I didn't know that.
They choreographed this whole thing, and
it
looks like a
it was
real
3
fight.
weeks.
3 weeks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
They choreographed it for 3 weeks.
And it's worth it, but it reminds me of, like, this is a metaphor about how people don't want to change. They don't want to change their way of thinking. It literally takes somebody beating the shit out of them to change their minds.
And forcing them to wear these sunglasses.
Yeah. And people will fight because no one wants, it's like red pill, blue pill sort of thing. Nobody wants to put on the sunglasses. I have a wife and kids. Whatever. Just let it all happen. And also, this reminds me of, I don't know, this may be a deep cut, but the Final Sacrifice, Mystery Science Theater Final Sacrifice
How dare you
episode.
bring up that movie here, Anthony? How embarrassing.
This is like Rousdower the early years. The young Rousdower Chronicles. It's just like, I don't know. I love it. Anyway, I'll move on.
Anyway, God, no, I don't care. Wait, where are you going with the Final Sacrifice? Wait a minute.
Doesn't this seem like young Rousdower? Like before
he got Roddy Piper is young Rousdower?
Yeah, can't you see he's got a mullet, same hair? He doesn't have a mustache, but
he's a better acted Rousdower.
That's why it's a prequel.
Hunter, do you know what we're talking about?
I'm looking it up right now.
It's about
Final Sacrifice.
Bad Canadian movie with this guy with a mullet who's
we learned
really
about it from Mystery Science Theater.
Ineffective hero.
It's from 1990. I found it.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there's a remake. There's a remake?
There's a remake of this? Final Sacrifice? Wow.
Yeah, no, I've never seen this movie.
Don't worry.
Wow, the cast doesn't even pull up on IMDb.
Nope, it's all. It's a very small Canadian movie, and no one would know it if it wasn't for Mystery Science Theater. But anyway, let's move on. Somebody is laughing at that, I hope.
I'm still laughing.
Wow. Anyway,
I'm your friend Anthony. I'm still laughing.
So Frank is like, shit, he was right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. After this big long fight, epic fight. And by the way, there was many stuntmen on this movie, and I have to bring up the stunt coordinator was Jeff Amada, who played a lot of the on the credits. They refer to them as ghouls, number 1 and 2, and Jeff Amada's ghoul number 1. And a lot of times when you see the makeup, alien people, every time he's looking at it, it's Jeff Amada, the stuntman, most of the time. I guess because stuntmen can withstand the makeup and shit. Yeah. That must have been the logic, but yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. He worked on Big Trouble in Little China, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And The Crow, even, with Brandon Lee.
Ah.
In fact, he was the one that, this is Hollywood gossip, I might be wrong, but
ooh.
I think he's the one that first noticed weapons or live rounds on the set and threw a fit about it, and nobody really fucking listened to him, you know. But he did say, wait, when they were doing the pawn shop scene, I think they had gotten all these props in from another pawn shop locally, and these were real weapons with real bullets in them, and he was like, what the fuck, you can't have this on a movie, people? And nobody listened to him, apparently.
Just like nobody listened to Roddy Piper, and They Live, 1988, already in progress.
I'm sorry. I'm going deep here. I'm sorry.
Listen.
So Frank is noticed by this dude who was like part of the underground resistance at the beginning of the movie before we knew about this whole alien conspiracy. They invite him to this meeting. The guys show up to this meeting, and then what happens? Like they see Holly there, And they get contact lenses so we can just ditch the whole glasses thing, right?
Makes it easier later on for shooting as well.
And
for the
continuity
actors.
and yeah.
For sure.
That was the thing for the actors. Probably.
Pockets fulls of sunglasses are now useless.
We can't do that. Yeah, exactly. Money down the drain. Thanks.
Yeah. We wasted all these. Well, yeah, that was a lot of sunglasses too.
Yeah.
Can you only imagine how much they cost? I mean, yeah, that's a good point. But it's not about the money. It's about seeing those people.
It's about waking up, sheeple. That's what it's about.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so Holly shows up at this meeting, and then she's like, hey, I have to talk to you about something. And then what happens, Jordan? What happens again?
Roddy Piper says, why are you here? I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense why you're even here at this point. No, he didn't say that. I wish he did, but... No, I love... This is where they have the famous... I'm going to bring this up already. The gun table. This is like the second time in a John Carpenter movie where you see the gun table, where you just, it's just, all the guns are laid out in a fetishistic way,
Pick
and they're
one.
like, we've got all these weapons you can choose to help us fight the mission. And yeah, it's just like Escape from New York all over again. Like,
yeah.
Then it turns into, yep.
Yeah, even Robert Rodriguez ripped this off later on. He admitted.
How dare you?
With a table full of guns and machete.
Yep.
But this is the resistance, essentially, is what's going on here. Yeah. This big resistance, like the French resistance during World War II and all that,
Yeah. So I think this would make a great video game. I would just say at this point, like, choose your weapon.
You know what? You're right. That's a good point. I wonder if Activision could get in on that with John Carpenter. I just realized there are a lot of video games that are John Carpenter movies already.
Yeah. He just signs off on them generally and doesn't care. But
this would be a cool one, though.
Nobody's come up with it.
And then the third act begins here pretty much. Holly's there. Then what happens?
Well, a big raid happens. It's even bigger than the first part of the movie. There's like 20, 40 policemen who are not real policemen. They're alien policemen, under guise. And they're all like raiding, and they're shooting guns and shit. And Roddy Piper is slowly escaping out of there with Keith David. And
Holly gets out, too.
Well, they're going to the tower. They knew they had to go to the tower.
Yeah.
The whole point was they have got to stop the transmission.
But when they get to the underground, though, that underground... But then eventually one of the watches they have sets off and...
Opens up a portal.
It opens up a portal underground, and then they drop underground.
Yeah.
And this is where we see a big revelations, I guess, of the alien shit that's going on.
They saw exactly. They saw an alien disappear earlier, and they couldn't figure out why he did it with his watch. And then they find this underground city, just like the Denver airport, Jordan. Exactly like it, full of aliens.
And I live in Colorado, and it is
just like the Denver airport.
Yeah. And Roddy Piper's character is from Denver, Colorado. Weird.
Whoa. It's like the movie's talking to us, man.
It's like, it's all connected. Oh, God.
It's all connected.
It's all connected, man. I can't handle it.
So, Jordan, what's happening in this underground? What's happening in this underground base?
Well, you hear a voice on the intercom overhead say, "If you need help, looking around, just ask anybody," or something like that. And then they run into the old guy from earlier in the movie, and he's all dressed up and out in a tuxedo. Isn't that the same guy from Back to the Future also, by the way? It
is the same
Isn't
guy.
that Red Thomas, who became the bum later on in Back to the Future universe? And now he's in the They Live universe? That makes it even worse.
Well,
oh, my God.
Wow, that's even crazier.
It's Buck Flowers. Yes, you got the movie right, but you got the name wrong, Jordan, so I'm sorry. Thanks for playing. Well, but you did get a toaster, but you don't get the big Hawaiian vacation.
Yep. There you go. Wow. Back to the game show. Full circle.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty
Totally.
tight, y'all. That's pretty tight. Buck Flower.
And he's like, but anyway, Buck Flowers, this guy's showing them around the underground, and he's just like, hey, boys.
That is true. He is like, hey, boys.
Am I skipping ahead? I'm sorry. There's more to talk about.
He meets them at a big gala, like this big
that's right.
dinner. And you got this guy up there at the podium, and he is announcing, like, hey, this has been a bumper year, A
great year for us aliens. We've scored, but yeah, they talk like Wall Street people. They're like, we've scored 35% on everything, and 33%. And, like,
yeah. It's like, you all have been made richer this year. Thanks for your support. So basically, he's congratulating all the human beings who have helped the aliens take control.
Right.
It's like a big donor dinner or something.
It looks like, a big donor dinner, but for themselves or something. And you see like there's rich people, humans amongst the aliens with the Roddy Piper vision, and all that.
So he's showing them around.
They run into that guy, that old bum who's now like joined the elite somehow quickly.
Yeah, it's been 3 days. Okay, so, wow. That's some... I picture this like a multi-level marketing scheme, but he is really...
Was he taken to jail and just being like, hey, you want to be rich or poor? Here's the option right fucking now, buddy.
Exactly. Wait, I get to be rich? Cool. All right.
You want to wear a tuxedo? You want to walk around like a bum? Right fucking now. And I'm going to offer you the option because you got 2 days from now before you're in the final plot.
I mean, what was his role in this? Like, he either advanced in 3 days, or his role was to sit in a homeless camp and just be salty about all these transmissions and be like, no, this...
Maybe he was working for them the whole time. That's the only explanatory.
I agree with you, Jordan. That's the only way to explain it, is that he was working for them the whole time.
Yeah, that's the only way to explain it.
It's got to be. Okay, you brought up 1984 earlier. It's like there's a character in 1984 that pretends to be good guy and then ends up working for the bad guys the whole time.
Absolutely.
It's that guy.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember the name of that character. It's been a while.
He's a plant, as they would say.
Yeah.
That's what I got to, too. He was there spying on them. That's why.
Because he was the only one complaining about the TV now that I look back. He was the only one complaining about the TV broadcast. Everybody else just sat there and dealt with that in the snow and complained about it. But he got up and was like, what's wrong with this thing? I don't know what the fuck's wrong with it. Like he was trying to be comfort or something.
Yeah, he was working from the whole time.
Oh, my God. Yeah, because that must be why they got ratted out, or in part.
Right. That's how everybody knew where they were.
And he had a beard the whole time. All he had to do was clean up and shave and chisel the beard a bit, and that was it. I mean,
that's all I do.
Same here.
So by the year 2025, the aliens predict the entire planet will be under dominion of the Alliance. So
yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was that creepy.
Yeah,
it was that
next
creepy.
year, guys.
Hang on a second. Wait a moment.
Wait, that's next year? Oh my God, that only hit me until now. Oh my God.
But Soylent Green has to happen before that.
Well, I just watched that movie. Yeah, I know, right?
That's true. We were on Soylent Green last year.
That was last year.
Yeah, we did Soylent Green the year. Actually, we did Soylent Green the year of that movie took place, appropriately. Yeah.
Wow.
And I brought that. I had to, of course, bring it up in the podcast.
So when does Logan's Run take place?
That's too far off. That's the 23rd century, that movie.
Is it?
We did do that movie, yeah.
No, it's It's like the year 2023. I mean,
it's the 23rd century, as it's advertised on the poster in my living room.
Well, yeah, but they're wrong.
Oh yeah, in the movie when they say
somebody doesn't understand
2275.
Exactly.
But the book is different. Yeah, the book is in the 21st century, the late 21st century.
So, all right, I guess we'll talk about the story in a minute, but we're almost done with the movie. So, did you notice that one of the alien guards had a PKE meter from Ghostbusters?
Yes, I
did. I was like, wait a minute. Like, literally?
Which apparently, that prop came off of a shoe polishing device that had brushes on it originally, where they added the LEDs.
Really?
From what I understand. Yeah.
Man.
That's normally what that was. And you use your thumb to work it. And I think for actors later on, when they made it into a prop, it was just kind of one of those thumb action props that you up and down you do slowly with your thumb. The prop person tells you how to work it. And
that's why you could never see Egon's hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't all mechanical except for the lights, maybe, I think.
Right.
But that was a manual mechanical thing on the prop, I think, if I'm correct. I tried to look up on that prop because that prop I've been obsessed with because it pops up everywhere in that time period for some reason.
Yeah.
It must have just been a rental thing after a while.
Production value, man. So anyways, the bum is giving them, he's in a tuxedo now, and he's like giving them this tour, this all access tour, like VIP, you paid extra for the tour.
Yeah.
Like, and they're going through the underground base, And it's very convenient, this tour. I get it, but it's just kind of like...
It's definitely like explaining things to the audience.
Yeah.
This movie goes backwards. Like, it explains things, like, at this point in the movie, basically.
Yeah,
It's not like Raiders of the Lost Ark where they set it up on a chalkboard for you.
Yeah.
Not like that at all. No.
I don't know. I wish I would like a little more setup there, but he's like, hey...
No, Anthony. Here's what's been happening the whole time. I'm the movie talking. Let me explain this to you boys. Watching the movie. Okay?
Hope you're paying attention real close, because here we go.
We're going to go down another corridor on this part of the movie that's going to be explaining things.
Keep your hands inside the ride. It's like that scene from Jurassic Park. And this is how we mix the DNA.
But that was in the beginning of the movie once again.
Know.
That's the funny thing.
I was popping my second bag of popcorn at this point.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, like... We get to this TV studio where all the TV news broadcasts are coming from this one TV studio, apparently. Yeah. And I guess they just take on all different guises from this one studio. Although this studio looks like a 1988 video recording studio. That's all it looks like.
Yeah, it looked like that. But
it doesn't look like anything alien enough.
But that was the point. I mean, that was the point.
I guess so.
That it was all coming from you're getting it all from one source, and the source is the aliens.
Yeah, and they're communicating that, like, it's basically on the news, and that was the same station Holly worked for, we found out earlier.
God damn it.
The signal is the one that the station was using because Roddy Piper was looking for the signal earlier, and she said, "Oh, I work for that station. It can't be the station where the alien signal is coming from. That's the signal that's presumably hiding all the aliens for everybody."
Yeah, no, that's not at all.
And so they bust in. He and Frank are there with guns, and then notice, like, all the people working at the studio who aren't like the newscasters or the producers or whatever, like the folks just working there in the office are all humans, right?
Right.
All the power positions are aliens.
Right.
And so anyway, they run to the roof. They're in the stairwell with, guns a-blazing, shooting folks right and left, trying to get to the roof where the satellite is so they can stop the transmitter. And Jordan, what happens in this stairwell?
Oh, you're talking about where Roddy Piper shoots Meg Foster? No.
Well, no. I'm talking about where...
No, I'm sorry.
Hunter, do you want to steal? Do you have a chance?
I lost myself in the movie here talking about it. Sorry.
This is where we lose Keith Richards. Richards. Yes.
Oh, Keith David.
Keith Richards makes an appearance.
Keith David.
He's like, yo, they're all aliens, man. You gotta get out of here. It's all fucked.
This is where Keith David comes in.
Yeah, and this is so messed up and so unexpected. One of the many oh shit moments.
We kill Keith David.
Yep. I didn't see that one coming at all.
Bye-bye, Keith David.
Yeah. Holly puts a gun very quickly to Keith David's head and pulls the trigger. Now, this is a rated R movie. They cut away from some It happens real quick. There's a real weird cut.
I saw this movie in the theater before I was 17, I'll say that.
Wow.
Yes, this movie touched me. No.
Too late to call CPS, but noted.
Some theater, huh?
Give him his bottle. Yeah. Anyway.
The Cineplex Odeon was not enforcing that R rating. That's why they're closed down now. That's what happens in the movie theaters when they don't enforce that R rating.
But anyway, so Roddy Piper goes to the roof. He's about to shoot the transmitter, and Holly shows up behind him with a gun on him. And we find out what?
She's been working for them the whole time.
No fucking way, Hunter. God. No, I don't want to believe it. No.
She's too hot to be that evil.
Her eyes don't tell me that at all. Meg Foster's eyes tell me that she doesn't work for anybody like that. Her eyes are just hypnotic. Yeah. I'm sorry.
But, I did not see that coming, and I've seen this movie a couple times before.
I keep forgetting it.
I did forget about it watching it again, honestly. I completely forgot. I was like, oh, yeah, Meg Foster. Oh, yeah, she becomes the love connection. No. No, not at all. Nope.
I like... Well, then let's just finish the movie. No. We'll talk about the story, and then we'll talk about what we like.
No, Meg Foster betrays Shankara, okay? No, I'm sorry.
And so... he puts his gun down and then fake out, shoots her with the gun in his boot. She dies, but there's a helicopter there with guns on him, and he shoots up the transmitter, blows it up. Alien signal is gone, and then we have a few sort of jokey scenes where people We end this movie with jokey scenes where people discovering the aliens are
bizarre,
real, which is a weird way to end this or any movie.
Oh, also the fact that he right before he shoots the satellite, I remember him he just says "fuck it." His dying words are "fuck it."
Fuck it.
Shooting the satellite.
He martyrs himself basically.
Yep, she does.
Yeah,
for the truth.
Good old sacrifice.
A final sacrifice.
Roddy Piper is Jesus Christ here. Roddy Piper is the Mashiach here.
You got to say it again, Anthony. Good
I know.
one.
I have to get it. Somebody's laughing at that. I promise. Okay, so guys, how does this differ from the short story?
Oh, it's just the short story is really, really fast. Like, it really is just he figures out they're aliens.
Well, also in the beginning, it's not sunglasses. He comes out of the stupid hypnosis kind of fair thing.
He gets hypnotized, and then he never gets unhypnotized.
Yeah.
So once he's hypnotized, the main character of the short story walks around being able to see all the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the weird part of it right there. I thought was bizarre.
Well, because they didn't have sunglasses back when this was written. This was written in '63, so there wasn't like...
They had sunglasses back then.
Okay, sorry. My apologies, Jordan. Of course they had sunglasses. They didn't think about the technology level of it. They thought about hypnotism when they were writing it.
It would take a room full of computers to make the sunglasses work. But, I mean, this is such an 80s thing.
Yes,
such an 80s thing, sunglasses. It could have been
sunglasses in the 80s. Yeah,
it could have been like, I don't know, a scrunchie or a single earring or looking through a Porsche window. I don't know.
Grey Poupon?
Yeah. But no, this is the 80s. My future's so bright, I got to wear shades.
That's right. So what are you saying about the story, Hunter?
Oh, and then after he gets hypnotized, the lead character in the short story, he realizes there's a bunch of aliens. They figure it out and call him and say, you're going to die at 6:00 at night or something, whatever the name of the story is. Mm-hmm. And then he foils the aliens somehow by what happens in the end of that? Does he gets a broadcast out that says like the aliens are with us or something like that, doesn't he?
He walks around killing a bunch of aliens and
he shoots a bunch of aliens, yeah.
Yeah, but he uses this needle gun that he finds off of one of them.
That's right.
I think it kind of ends the same. He does die. He finds out where the signal is, essentially the same thing, and he kills the signal so everybody can see what he sees.
Yeah, that's the same idea.
It does end the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a signal transmitter.
I just read it this morning before the podcast, but it did have an effect on me, and I did absorb it still. And I was like, wow, that's it? Because it was like a short...
It's a very short story.
Was the book better than the movie? What do you think?
I didn't read the book.
It's just different.
The short story.
That's it.
The short story, yeah.
The short story, that's it. It's just different completely.
No, the movie's better. I'm going to go with the movie's better.
Yeah. Yeah, the movie, I like the movie better over the hypnotism, actually.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Because the hypnotism thing seems really insane in the book.
The glasses are a cool MacGuffin. I like that. Very 80s.
And that's even more believable nowadays, absolutely.
Well, I mean, there's also that level of Buckaroo Banzai in there as well.
Yeah.
Where you can see the aliens and they're all with us.
It does.
Oh, yeah, with that kind of thing. Yeah, I remember that.
I was thinking the same thing. I wonder, when did Buckaroo Banzai come out? 84?
2 years before.
86?
84, yeah. 4 years before, sorry.
Yeah, that's sort of true. I don't know. I don't think it's very derivative. I think in its own way, I'll tell you what I like about this movie. There's so many oh shit moments and real surprises.
Yes.
Real surprises.
Yeah.
And I think John Carpenter is trying to be quite subversive in this movie. In a way, not just with the topics, but just
more so. I mean, he was always trying to be subversive, but even more so.
Always.
More so here, though.
More so because he's like, oh, you think you know what's going on? You think there's just so many twists and turns in this plot, and just I mean, he's just like totally undercutting a lot of the beats and the tropes that we're used to.
Yeah,
the love interest has been working for the aliens the whole time, that sort of thing, right?
And it's set in Los Angeles, and then the fact that John Carpenter himself, as a director, has had to work for all these elite people, that plays into it as well. I think in his mindset of making this movie. And John Carpenter's very, I don't want to be told what to do kind of guy.
Yeah.
I think that's his deal every time he sets it up in Hollywood is, I do this, I do that, you don't give a fuck. You lay the fuck off me. And I'll give you the fucking movie.
Yeah. But I think the point is, it's almost like colonialism. If the movie's taking a political stance, it's like they even say, "Hey, we're like a third world planet to them. We're a developing world planet to them."
Yeah, that's he did mention that. Yeah,
and it's just like they're just going to come here, extract our resources, and the whole pollution, global warming thing. It's like we're just trying to make this planet more acclimate to them. You know what I mean? They prefer whatever sulfur in the air and whatever. And so they don't care. They're destroying our environment. They're just extracting all the resources from us. And just like in old colonialism, they find the governing class and they just partner with them. And if you're not going to be a part of with us, we're going to find somebody who will. And that's exactly like how colonialism works. And I think that's, despite all the political over and undertones, I think that's the biggest sort of theme that runs through it. It's a criticism of the Reagan era on its face, but I think to me it's more about colonialism like that. I think that's the major point he's making. More than just eat the rich and rich people suck. I mean, consumerism. Jordan, Hunter, what would you like? What if Paul Verhoeven made this movie? I was thinking at the end.
Well, that's interesting. I never even put two and two together. But this is his kind of film. This is the kind of overture kind of film that he likes. For me, I think this film really has to do with being two-faced and being honest. And I think that the reflection of the everyday person is being at the absolute very bottom, and maybe metaphorically the tip top are those that are from another planet or those that don't live in the real world. I think that for me, it was more about sort of John Carpenter saying that if you're at a certain level of opulence, you're an alien. You don't live on this planet.
Wow.
You don't know what's going on the streets. You don't understand how things work. And it's almost like, I don't know, narcissism aliens? They're so full of themselves, that they're actually so full of themselves that the narcissism comes out as just total control. Total and complete control over everything based on a signal that masks what they really are. So, I mean, it really comes back to that ancient Greek poem of Narcissus, staring at the pool of himself, that these are the aliens. They have masked what they really are, and they feel that they can control us. And that's my message. And I really enjoyed that film. I think it's great. I would rate it in the top of the horror films of the 80s. I was actually thinking about that as well. I was going to say something like Buckaroo Banzai, something like that. Or even Blade Runner, something like that. Blade Runner also has a certain level of, you're dealing with people that live above the clouds. You're dealing with people that don't have any idea what's going on down on the ground with everybody else. So it's a good, solid 80s film.
Well, in Blade Runner, like the most human people in Blade Runner are the fake people. That's the sad thing.
Right. That's the beauty of that movie, I think. You have to be fake to really understand what's going on. That little soliloquy he says at the end, I've seen starships destroyed over rings of Saturn, whatever that. It's so beautiful.
Don't make me go to
So good. So good. Anyway, that's my take on it. Thanks for asking.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Jordan, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I agree with Hunter, and I almost wonder if it was from Carpenter being in LA for so long. Like in the business, seeing all these fake people and all these people that were not in touch with anything, out of touch with reality, that live in these opulence homes in LA, of course, that look like they're on the moon. Like, I wonder if it came from partly that, if that was an influence. But I agree. That's the message, I think, overall of They Live. It's an old primordial classic central theme.
Yeah.
The richer, they control the gold, but they're also they're far out of touch with everything. And then the people on the earth are really in the ground. There's this. That's the fear of what will happen with everything eventually in the future is it will become two class separations of, there will be no middle. It will just be people in the dirt or people above.
Well, that's a back and forth process that societies have gone through for the entirety of history.
I'm not saying it could happen now or then, but it's always been the fear of every sci-fi future novel. It's always the fear.
Paranoia.
Of course, you know.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's a very entertaining movie, but it's very heavy-handed in these things. And there's, like, I think, almost theme overload. I mean, because you can pick and choose whatever. I don't think it's particularly political. And, I mean, certainly it's a little more... It's a very 80s politics, which is a little different than today. But I think... it's so heavy-handed that it's just kind of like, okay. But, again... John Carpenter's not a subtle filmmaker. He kind of comes in and slaps you in the face with his movies, like it or not. Yeah. So it's very on point and on the nose. But but despite that, it's kind of campy too. So I don't know, does the campiness work for the message, or what do you guys think about that? Does it both work okay, or does one detract from the other?
I guess it does. I guess my only complaints with this movie is the fight scene and the ending being just such not a big ending compared to what had built up to.
Yeah.
You know?
It's kind of abrupt, yeah. Just kind of like they run through that last...
Yeah, that was always my complaint of this movie, was the ending was too abrupt, I remember going to the movie with my dad, and I think that's what rubbed him. He was more cynical about the movie than I was, and I thought it was kind of more brilliant than he did. Even as a little kid, and he really was ready to forget the movie after we were done. And he was just like, oh, well, I like the message, but wow, that's it? Jeez, I wanted to take some scissors to that movie.
It could have been a little longer in a weird way. I think they could have dwelt a little more with the resistance. I think that was the most interesting part, sort of, what is the resistance like? We're kind of thrown into this, we run through it, and you're right, when you're taking up time with 5-minute fight scenes.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I don't want a mini-series out of this. Yeah. No.
It's not a long movie. It's not a long movie at all.
Gets to the point, yeah. Man, I would have loved to have seen a sequel, the further adventures of Rowdy Roddy Piper.
That was what I was hoping for. God.
You know what I mean?
I would have hoped that was going to happen. Jesus Christ. It was the era of sequels dawning, so it was like, it wasn't out of the question.
Well, I mean, I wish he would have made it into the Expendables or something. I don't know. But he passed away tragically. So
they live too.
They're still living.
They live again.
Still alive.
They still live.
All right, on a budget, just because we talk about the numbers here, on a budget of $3 million, well spent. It doesn't look like it's not a very expensive looking movie.
Definitely.
Budget compared to
but that's the 80s, so...
God, that's like Escape from New York budget.
It does typical John Carpenter type money for this sort of film. It does 13.4 in North America. Okay. Right? So that's pretty good return on your money. That's
more than making its money back. Yeah.
Prince of Darkness kind of did the same thing. Memoirs
that was his
of
previous
Invisible
movie,
Man
I think.
Kind of did the same thing. Yeah. So the later John Carpenter movies, they're not bad. I mean, Hollywood's going to give him another chance or 2 or 10 to make more John Carpenter movies.
Right.
Somebody loves him out there.
I can just see somebody likes me up there, fucking assholes. God damn.
One of those assholes likes me up there.
Right? That's what it is.
I'll keep fucking making these goddamn fucking movies, I guess. No, I'm just kidding.
Is that your John Carpenter?
I don't know. I just picture him. Just in interviews, he sounds like, so.
Somebody likes me up there. You know, I've always hated authority.
I hope he makes more. I hope he makes way more.
Yeah.
I agree. I like that George Miller is still fucking making movies. Shit.
This is classic Carpenter. Classic. All right, guys. That has been a great conversation, Hunter. Thank you for joining us.
Did we rate this movie?
Yeah. I mean, I think I give it. I'd say a solid 8 out of 10.
8. Okay, so we're doing on 10. Okay.
Yeah.
Jordan.
I give this a solid 8.5 out of 10 sunglasses at night.
Ooh.
Man, just keeps coming back, doesn't it?
That's my cute little rating.
I was going to go with the 8.5 as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was gonna go more of the Italian lean, but, you know.
Oh, shit.
8.5 sunglasses,
we're on the same page here, all right.
You sure?
Thank you for coming on our podcast.
Thank you, guys. It was been my pleasure being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for recommending this. This was bringing this to us. This is cool.
I would love to do this again if you guys are available on another 80s flick. I realized that in the 80s I was not watching a lot of sci-fi movies.
You were in sci-fi movies.
I was in the sci-fi movie.
You were missing out.
Yeah, I was missing out on really good 80s sci-fi. I realized that.
But all right, thanks again. And everyone, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you like this episode, go listen to the prior episode we had with Hunter. That was also a great one. And listen to some of our other episodes. And Jordan, this has been...
The robots took my podcast. I put the goddamn sunglasses on, man.
All trailers, clips, music, or any other copyrighted material are used sparingly, edited from their original forms, and used for the purposes of criticism, discussion, commentary, and education about these fine films.